Hello, welcome back to my podcast. My name is Justina, and today we are talking about something that doesn't get discussed enough. Today we are talking about starting over. I think that's a topic that is not talked about enough. It often comes with changing careers, leaving relationships, moving countries, reinventing yourself, or letting go of a version of you that no longer fits. Starting over sounds brave in a theory, but in reality, it's very terrifying because starting over doesn't just mean something new, it means admitting something ended, grieving who you were, and risking failure again. So, today we are going to explore why starting over feels so scary, what's really happening psychologically, what we are actually afraid of, and how to move forward without pretending it's easy. Let's begin. So, why starting over feels like a failure? One of the biggest reasons starting over feels scary is because we attach identity to progress. We believe life should be linear, forward, upward, impressive. So when we have to start again, it feels like we're going backwards. But here is something important. Starting over isn't regression, it's recalibration. Psychologically, humans are wired to protect status and identity. When those feel threatened, we experience discomfort similar to loss. So, when you start over, your brain reads it as I'm losing my position, I'm losing certainty, I'm losing who I thought I was. That's not weakness, that's biology. And to be honest, I had to learn how to start new life, I guess, in a different country when I was very young. I moved from Poland to Ireland, and it was very difficult at the beginning because I had to find new friends. I was in a new country, new language, and I felt like I'm actually starting a new life where, well, actually, I was starting a new life, but like, for a child is different. So I had to learn very quickly how to start everything again. And to be honest, it was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. But I did it, and right now I'm very glad. It was a very interesting experience, but I'm very grateful for everything that happened at that time. So there are three real fears underneath starting over. Most of the time we say, I'm scared to start over, but underneath there are deeper fears. Fear of wasted time. We think, was all of that for nothing? But growth is not erased just because direction changed. Research on narrative identity shows that we make meaning of our life through reinterpretation. What feels like wasted time now often becomes wisdom later. Fear of being behind. We compare ourselves constantly. Social comparison theory explains that humans evaluate themselves relative to others. So when we restart, we feel exposed, like everyone else is ahead. But timelines are illusions. Growth isn't synchronized. The fear of uncertainty. The brain craves predictability. Uncertainty activates the stress response. Even if the current situation is unfulfilling, it feels safer because it's familiar. So we cling to comfort over alignment. So when I moved to Ireland, I was very afraid of not like fitting in. I was scared that I will be not able to find friends, and I will be, kind of in the corner. Not no one will be talking to me. But thankfully, I was able to find some Polish friends, and that made me feel a lot more comfortable, I guess, because my English wasn't at the best level. They actually introduced me to all the international people in the class, and that way I was able to learn the language a lot faster. We don't avoid starting over because we're incapable. We avoid it because staying feels less risky. Even when staying drains us, shrinks us, disconnects us. There's a psychological concept called loss aversion. We feel the pain of loss more intensely than the pleasure of gain. So, losing the familiar feels worse than gaining something better, which means starting over requires tolerating discomfort before reward, and that's hard. So let's define what starting over actually is. So, starting over is not erasing the past, it's integrating, it's not going back to zero, it's starting from experience. You're not the same person you were the first time. You now have insight, awareness, discernment, and resilience. Psychologists call this post traumatic growth, growth that occurs over challenge or change. Starting over means you're brave enough to admit something no longer fits. That's maturity, not failure. So let's go back to my story when I moved to Ireland when I was a child. At the beginning, when I was trying to find friends, so at that time when I moved to Ireland, I failed a lot of time when it comes to like communicating with people, especially when it comes to like school or like outside of school. And sometimes people wouldn't understand me, and many times I felt like I'm failing because people don't understand what I'm saying, and it was very difficult for me to like talk to people and communicate with people because because it was very stressful. I always felt like people were judging me and talking about me behind my back, and I had that kind of trauma where I wasn't really talking to people much, and I'm still very quiet. I don't really talk to people a lot, I guess, and I became like a very quiet person. So it was very difficult for me to sort of like blend in. But then when I finally learned the language, I felt stronger. When I could speak the language, I could actually show the people that like I can achieve something. So it was very it was like a big thing for me to finally learn the language and be able to communicate with people. So how to start over without overwhelming yourself? Starting over doesn't have to be dramatic. It can look like private beginnings. You don't have to announce everything. Protect early growth. Micro steps. Instead of reinventing the entire life, take one aligned action. The brain handles small uncertainty better than total upheaval. Grieving what you're leaving. You can miss something and outgrow it. Grief is not weakness, it's emotional integration. Redefining success. Instead of did I fail, ask what did I learn? What did this prepare me for? I, of course, have the journal questions for you, so you can write them down and answer them in your free time. The first question is what feels misaligned right now? The second question is what part of me is ready for something new? And the third question is what am I afraid starting over would say about me? And of course, I have some daily practice for you. And this week, I want you to take one small step toward alignment, even if no one sees it. It could be researching something new, having a difficult conversation, or maybe admitting the truth to yourself. And this week's affirmation is: starting over is not a failure. So if you're afraid to start over, that doesn't mean you're weak. It means you understand the weight of change. But here's something to remember: you've started over before. You were once a beginner at everything, and you survived that. And there's one thing I would say to my past self, and that's just don't think what other people will say. Just do whatever you think is the best for you, and just keep doing whatever makes you happy. That's all I would say to my past self, because a lot of the times I feel like I don't do something because I feel like people will judge me, but it's very important to just do whatever makes you happy. So, starting over isn't about becoming someone new, it's about becoming more honest. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to begin again. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in my next episode. Thank you, see you, and bye.